2020 August, and this is the full moon day of August. For this year, this full moon day marks a very important calendar in the Buddhist tradition in Southeast Asia, South and Southeast Asia, especially for monastics like myself and their supporters and communities, devotees. This is because we are starting a 3-month rains retreat. I know in Europe and North America, this is the summer. And in Australia, this is winter. But here in Asia, we are in the middle of the rainy season. The rainy season has begun more than a month now. So during the rainy season, we monks, we stay in one place. This has come down from the time of the Buddha, where monks were advised to stay in one place because if they travel, like in the open season, they would trespass the vegetation. There were many big roads those days. So for agricultural reason and also for social harmony reason, the Buddha advised monks to stay in one place. This year, I said I'm going to be here at Shan State Buddhist University in Taungji, Myanmar, for the next 3 months, observing a rain retreat. This is my first more than 3 decades to be back for the rains retreat in Myanmar and in the Shan State. This is the first time in 4 decades. But the rains retreat is not the main important topic I'd like to talk to you today. It's about what the Buddha did on this day more than 2,600 years ago. That was in Benares or Varanasi in India. He started teaching for the first time 2 months after his enlightenment. Within those 2 months, he regained his energy and he planned his mission for the next 45 years. He chose his focus and he decided to establish 4 communities, 2 monastic communities, male and female, and also 2 lay communities, again male and female. So a lot of his effort and energy went into that for the next 45 years. He would train those who would like to be more committed to the mind training. You can call this spiritual training if you like, but mind training is better. And for those who are not ready to fully commit themselves, he also had some level of teaching suitable for them so that they can also progress on the path. while they are leading, a life of businessman, woman, family life, a life of politicians, soldiers, generals, doctors, agricultural scientists, merchants. So the Buddha was very happy to plan for all classes of people. He planned for all classes of people, mainly for the fully committed and for the less committed. That teaching became known as the first sermon, or the turning of the wheel. In Pali, Dhammacakka; in Sanskrit, Dharmacakra. In English, it means the turning of the wheel. The wheel is a metaphor. A metaphor. The wheel represents vehicle, transport. We need a transport to get somewhere. So the Buddha said, in mind training, in training our mind, we also need a transport. That transport is, of course, it has to be psychological, philosophical, ethical, by nature. So when you are really, really frustrated at work, you need a vehicle, you need a transport to transport you from frustration to calmness, where your frustration subsides and no longer dominates your brain, your mind. And that instrument, if you like, or that program, that teaching, is what the Buddha called the wheel, or he symbolizes with the wheel. You can see the Buddhist wheel, okay, you can Google that, Buddhist wheels, many of them. Some of them, they would have 4 spokes inside, some of them 8, some of them 6, some of them 12, some of them 14, 16, 24, like that. And they all denote something within the Buddhist philosophical teaching. What kind of vehicle or transport the Buddha envisaged, I have already explained you in brief. The Buddha intended to provide for everyone without discrimination of class, caste, social status. The Buddha wanted to make his teaching available to everyone. Now, this transport, only if we have mindfulness, if we have awareness, it will be turning inside, meaning it will be functioning. The turning of the wheel means the function of the wheel. The wheel, by nature, is there. Whether we discover it or not, whether we know it or not, the wheel is there. It's not created by anyone. It exists by nature. Okay, we have that potential, that capacity, that the seed, if you like, within each and every one of us. We just need to water it, we just need to activate it, we just need to make it function. So today, on the full moon day of August, more than 26 centuries ago, the Buddha told his audience, a group of 5 ascetics, 5 monks, who have known him from his birth. But they were so disappointed with him at some point when, after a long fasting, that he decided to abandon that fast and then started eating again in a very moderate way. But those 5 friends, they were not happy with that. In their opinion, somebody who they regard as their teacher, their hero, who was about to reach his goal, his enlightenment, was now retreating, abandoning the path. That was their opinion. Their opinion, fortunately, proved not to be true. But they left the Buddha feeling, very bitter themselves because they were so disappointed. So from Bodh Gaya nowadays to Varanasi, to the Deer Park, is a long way even by today's standard. With motorway, with the best motor car, it still takes you some 6 hours non-stop. So they left the Buddha, they just ran away from him. But the Buddha, after his enlightenment, he thought of people with high potential to realize themselves and then help other people. So these 5 friends, a group of 5, we call them in Pali Panjavaki. They were in the priority list, in the top list. So the Buddha spent at least about 10 days walking towards them. This was because the Buddha was positive, despite them saying a lot of negative things before they left the Buddha alone. So Prince Siddhartha Gautama, when he became Buddha, he didn't feel any bitterness towards his friends. He perfectly understood them, why they felt like that and why they left him alone in the forest. This is, an example, a very good example of being positive. When somebody thinks that you're not going to make it, has a very low opinion of you, is so negative about you, has lost all the hope towards you, and then you remain unaffected by his opinion, by his behavior, by whatever he says, and you still feel that you can and should do something for him, for her. This is an ideal person, a very positive person. A positive person means somebody who believes that things can change, problems can be overcome. That's what we say, being positive in Buddhism. Because being positive in Buddhist philosophy and in Buddhist psychology is not exactly the same as being optimist. Because being positive in Buddhism is necessarily based on understanding problems. It's problem-based approach. If we're not interested in problem, and if we are not confident that this particular problem or any particular problem that we face can be overcome, even though we don't know the answer yet. If we have the confidence that we can overcome, then this is positive thinking. If we don't believe, if we are no longer confident that problems that we face can be overcome, then we cannot say that someone is positive, someone has positive thinking. So in the first sermon, the Buddha demonstrated this principle. First, by discussing problems, something like we do our training in PhD study, we need to explain problems. Why a particular problem is so significant, so important. You can talk about physics, chemistry, biology, social science, medicine, Buddhist studies, education, psychology, humanities, whatever subject you want to talk about. Whenever you do a PhD, the first thing that you need to do is to study the problem you're interested in and then explain that. Explain that so that people are convinced that a particular problem that you think is important is really, really important. So it's called the truth of suffering, meaning the truth of problems. The Buddha analyzed problems physically, psychologically. Everything is empirical, practical. He analyzed problem, something that we can see, that we can feel. It's not metaphor. It's not metaphysical, not metaphysical problems, but the problem that we face on day-to-day basis. The problem of frustration, the problem of stress, anxiety, the problem of having to hide, the wrinkles on our face, or maybe gray hair, because we feel insecure, being noticed as someone who is getting old. So the Buddha talks about problem that we can feel and see and perceive here and now. When he talks about anxiety, we can talk about the anxiety related to the COVID-19 or the economic hardship that comes as the results of the COVID-19 in every country in the world. We can talk about that, and they are what we call the truth of problem, meaning problem really exists. But whenever we talk about problem, sometimes we become really disappointed and we can't really analyze the problem clearly, objectively. But sometimes we develop fear whenever we think about problems, and we retreat. The amygdala brain, the fear-centered brain starts being active. So we go into fight and flight mode. So that's the biggest problem whenever we think about difficulties. So what do we do then? The answer the Buddha gave more than 2,600 years ago on this day is that first we need to calm our mind. If our mind is calmed, it will be focused, it will be attentive, it will be concentrated. A concentrated mind is a happy mind. It can be happy easily. A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. This is not my word. This is the Buddha's word 2,500 years, 2,600 years ago. A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. It can be calm. It has the potential to become an unethical mind as well. A few years ago, Wisconsin University and a few others, they did research focusing on people at work, if their concentration level is good enough, or if their mind is mostly wandering, and if their mind is wandering, what happened to their emotion, to their mood? Do they suffer from mood swing? The research they publish has this title: A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind. People who study Abhidhamma, Buddhist psychology, you know exactly, you know straight away what this means. So the Buddha said it's important to learn how to calm our emotions, how to calm our thoughts. As a businessman, if your mind is calmer when you are faced with problems, then you will make more correct decisions than incorrect ones. People make mistakes. They make incorrect decisions because when their mind is wandering, emotionally they are being shaken, and that affects their brain. In order for the executive brain here, in the prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate cingulate cortex, ACC, to be active, for the executive brain to be functioning and making a good decision, whether you are a politician, a business person, a university teacher, a parent, a government servant, you need to be making good decisions, because your decision affects yourself and other people. So in order to do that, we need to focus on breathing in and out. This is not about, I'm not talking about nirvana, I'm not talking about, what you should be aiming spiritually. I'm talking about how you can be calmer and make more correct decision, better decision in the face of such challenges resulted from the pandemic, the coronavirus. So in order to do that, this book, Altered Traits, co-written by Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence, and Professor Richard Davidson from Wisconsin University, two people who have been heavily involved in, at the forefront in bringing mindfulness to the scientific world. So this is what they have written. This is what they have written. I just like to read you a little bit. It says here that people who have never meditated before, are recruited by them into their mindfulness research project. And people are asked to meditate every day, 20 minutes per day for 7 days, just 7 days, and only 20 minutes. Before they started meditation, their brain is scanned with fMRI. And once again, after they have finished 7 sessions, 1 session a day, 20 minutes session, 20 minutes per session, the brain starts changing. The amygdala, the fear center, becomes less active. And the decision-making brain, the insula, the ACC, they become more active. You can see, just 20 minutes a day, only 7 days. You can change your brain for the better, for positive qualities. Suppose you are not taking care of your brain, you're not taking care of your emotion, you just leave it like that to its own devices. Whenever you read Facebook, you don't pay attention to your emotional reaction. You just get carried away. You build up negative emotion. Maybe sometimes you shout, sometimes you write a very negative emotion. Imagine how damaging that would be to your brain and to your emotional habit. That is why it's very important for all of us, it doesn't matter if you are a Buddhist, if you are a monk, if you are a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a non-believer, a soldier, a politician, a business person, a student, a university student, or even high school student. You got to take care of your brain because you're going to be using it all your life. And to be taking care of your brain, you need to take care of your emotion. To do that, you need to learn how to focus your mind. So we start with breathing in and out. Calm down the breath. You can take slow and gentle breathing. Slow and gentle breathing. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Maybe for about 8 or 9 times. You will start feeling the calmness. But if you do this for 20 minutes, then your brain will be changing for the better. For people who have more time, this is the Oxford Handbook of of compassion science. And I got this from Oxford University, published by Oxford University Press. On page 238, this one talks about compassion cultivation training by two researchers, Philip Goldin and Huria Jazairi. Okay. They say if you practice compassion, like 8 weekly sessions, each session 2 hours, that means 16 hours altogether. If you practice that, of course you start doing breathing, you start doing mindfulness of breathing, you learn how to focus on your mind within those 2 hours, and then you direct your mind to pain, to problem, to difficulty, and then at that moment trying to generate first empathy and then compassion. Empathy is where you feel someone's pain. Compassion is when you start actively thinking about solution, finding a solution, that compassion. So what they say is that compassion meditation, mindfulness-based compassion meditation, that the Buddha introduced on this day more than 2,600 years ago, part of his first sermon, is very fruitful. I'd like to read from page 244. That's the conclusion. Compassion's time has come, and the future for compassion cultivation training is bright. This training has been offered in a variety of organizations and settings, including Stanford University, such as for continuing education, undergraduates, School of Business, Medical School, that's at Stanford University, and University of California, Berkeley, University of California, Davis, Google, non-profit organizations, outpatient cancer clinics, inpatient healthcare settings, and hospitals, even in the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, both to healthcare providers and to U.S. veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. You can use mindfulness and compassion to overcome them without the need to take chemical into your body, those tablets. Beyond the field of clinical science, importance of compassion and its empirical study have begun to emerge in the fields of business, education, healthcare, and beyond. There is tremendous interest and potential in the scientific examination of compassion training. The Buddha, more than 2,600 years ago, talks about the mind science, the science of the mind. And today, in the 20th and 21st century, we have biological science, psychological science, neurological science, physics, chemistry. We have all these things to help us to understand our mind and train our mind so that our mind achieves its potential. Whether our mind achieves potential or not, the first thing that you can detect is whether you get agitated easily. If you get agitated easily, you need to work on your calmness. You need to train your mind to be a little bit calm. With calmness, what we have to train ourselves is to have right understanding. What do you mean by right understanding? Right understanding is about accepting that the world has problems, life has problems, and that's okay. That's okay to have problems. Because problems are universal. In that sense, okay, we can say it's impersonal. So if we learn how to accept them and to see them as a universal and common experience of human being, now we can use problems and pains as our focus to train our mind further. That is, to develop compassion. Compassion in Pali it's called karuna, is included in the right intention or right thinking. Without compassion, the intention is not right intention. The thought is not the right thought. Whenever you feel some pain because you have people disagreeing with you, in political philosophy, in the way you see how to develop the country or your business, you're just trying to feel the pain of everyone, your own pain, the pain of those people, with calm mind, with non-judgmental mindfulness. Just feel the pain. Breathe in and out, feel the pain. If the mind tries to be judgmental and trying to blame, just observe it as a child. Hello, blaming mind. Hello, complaining mind. Are you okay? Greet your own habit with mindfulness, with compassion. If we do that, we will be making a lot of good decisions in every areas of the nation's life. Every nation's life, including Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka, England, USA, China, India, Nepal, any country, Singapore, with a calm and compassionate mind, you will have a lot of motivation to work harder. At the same time, your mind is calmer and less disturbed. So to be developing mindfulness and compassion, these qualities, we now call them as transport, as a vehicle. So in your mind, in your heart, in your brain, if you have mindfulness, if you have compassion, the wheel of wisdom, the wheel of calmness, the wheel of ethics is turning inside your head, is turning inside your heart. It's turning when you think, it's turning when you speak, it's turning when you work, when you act. Meaning the transport is moving towards its destination. That's what we say turning here. So with this, I hope I have given you some thought, so that you can take care of your own brain, your own emotion, your own, physical and psychological health. If you do so, the wheel will be turned in your heart, and that would be the best way to honor the Buddha. May all of you be well and happy. May everybody learn how to take care of themselves through mindfulness and compassion. Thank you.